Back now with the panel. Believe it or not, there will be a third and final debate. I want to throw a couple things out here that we haven't gotten into. One is more from our NBC Wall Street Journal poll to just show you the racial divide in this country. Among all white voters this week, this is Donald Trump's worst week yet. And look at this. Hillary Clinton has a higher negative rating, Cillizza, among all white voters than Donald Trump after this week. I think that tells you there is a structure here. There is a floor that Donald Trump can't fall through.
And that's when I think we talk about, well, Trump's going to get 35%. It's literally almost structurally impossible for that to happen because there's just combine the polarization in the country, the self-sorting in the country, and the feelings about Hillary Clinton. Whether you think they're justified or not, they exist and have existed for a long time. He has, I think, a very hard floor. His problem, at least if you believe polling, is he also has a very hard ceiling that's about 42%. His floor and his ceiling are very close to one another. His floor is 39. I know. His ceiling at the moment is 42.
I want to bring up, Kristen, how the campaign is handling the Podesta hack, the Russian hack. WikiLeaks is the conduit here. We finally got speech transcripts.
Right.
And to me, if you take them all in totality, she's a calculating politician. She's everything Bernie Sanders was telling Democrats that she was. This reinforced it. Had this come out during the primaries, could this have cost her the nomination?
I think it could have, but to your point, it reinforces, I think, everything a lot of people thought about Secretary Clinton. The fact that it's coming out right now is awkward for the campaign. They're having to answer a lot of thorny questions in the days leading up to Election Day. But in terms of their strategy for dealing with this, they're not acknowledging or authenticating any of these emails and saying, look, this is the Russians trying to meddle in our election. And yesterday, Chuck, they started with this line that this is like Watergate. And that is their way of, I think, trying to obviously change the conversation. The problem, though, with the leaks, as of yet, there hasn't been a major bombshell. Could there be? That's what
I'll tell you, Joy, but let me pause you there. I actually think these leaks are going to haunt her if she becomes president with the progressive movement. That they will use these leaks to beat her up when they don't like what she's doing.
Well, maybe, but I mean, I'm sort of in the camp that says that there's nothing in here that is really sort of revelatory. I mean, Hillary Clinton is a politician, I think, no kidding. And I think because a lot of them are around figures that most Americans don't know who John Podesta is, with all due respect to him, it's not as if people know who Sidney Blumenthal and John Podesta are. And so having sort of catty conversations in the background of a campaign, that is how campaigns and that's how politics operates. Do progressives have discomfort with Hillary Clinton's sort of core centrism? Could they maybe sort of try to bring this up at her? Maybe, but I don't think in the end it matters. Hillary Clinton, I think, structurally got the nomination in part because of overwhelming support from African Americans over 40. That would have happened whether these came out now or they came out.
I had a Clinton person, though, Hugh. I did have I had a Clinton supporter admit to me. They said they won the primary, but they lost the campaign.
But the Russian hack, they did lose the campaign. The Russian hack is very troubling, and if in fact the Russians drop her private emails, the race could turn again. But what Governor Pence said to you about the Haitian leak, that is criminal wrongdoing. It does not come from the Russians. It comes from a FOIA request. If, in fact, Secretary Clinton's State Department directed aid to friends of Bill, that is criminal wrongdoing that will haunt her into her term if she wins. And you can't rule out Donald Trump because if the Russians drop, no matter its province, if they drop her private emails, that means she is compromised as a national security leader. Wait and see.
The one thing I always return to is the way you started just talking about Trump's tweets. He continues to be by far. The case you just heard Hugh Hewitt make, have you ever heard Donald Trump make a case that was that concise and that to the point? No. Because why? Because he's constantly inflicting self-wounds, tweeting about things, tweeting about random cultural events, he cannot make the story about her. The more it is about her, this has been the case over and over again, whether it's emails, the Clinton Foundation, other State Department stuff, the more it is about her, the worse she does. The more it is about him, the worse he does.
But you also can't get away from the fact that when you're talking about the Russians, you're talking about the Russian leaks, you bring yourself back to another narrative that the Trump campaign has not dealt with, which is this sort of affinity between himself and his camp and the Russians in this, and the fact that they're sort of blatantly attempting, with I think not so spectacular results, to help him become president of the United States. That's still, to me, the looming issue that is the dog that has not barked in this campaign.
And Mike Pence
because it is also unprecedented and I think troubling for a lot of Americans.
Mike Pence, just very quickly, Mike Pence's position, by the way, totally different than Donald Trump's. Remember Donald Trump in the debate? Well, Putin, he says nice things about me, I say nice things about him. And that's not exactly what Mike Pence outlined today.
But to your original point, Chris, I can't tell you how many times this past week journalists have said, what would this news cycle look like if we hadn't had the 2005 tape of Donald Trump, if these allegations hadn't come forward from all of these women? I mean, we would be almost solely focused on these WikiLeaks. And yet, Donald Trump continues to kind of make these unenforced errors.
Yeah, I know. This whole obsession of the media's role in this, I think everybody is hyping it up too much. We have candidates' words and candidates' speeches here. That should be the focus. We'll be back in 45 seconds.